Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
For summer barbecues, road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
Hundreds of new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts. It's all on Odyssey.
Brought to you by Macy's, Geico, and Coke Zero Sugar.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
There are hundreds of new exclusive stations to check out today.
For summer barbecues,
road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
For every mood, every interest, every passion. By Odyssey.
It is time to cut ties and split, and so in honor of that, I will cut my tie while doing a split.
Oh my Lord!
Is that what you're going to do?
This is
it's
like, why put scissors in his hand? Okay, did. Thank you.
Eric Perkins calling it a career the other night on KARE 11. Incredible 25 years at KARE 11. He is an incredibly talented storyteller. We were talking earlier this morning before I bring Perk in. Why the American workforce? The workforce itself is having one big collective midlife crisis. Like, think about the numbers. We have like 10 million jobs available, but we have 9 million unemployed Americans. So, I mean, you go out there, you see help wanted everywhere. So we were kind of thinking, this is kind of like a midlife crisis for the American workforce. If you missed that conversation, we had an author on it. Go back to about 9:30. Hit the rewind button on Odyssey. You can go back there. But a part of this, too, is I think a lot of people were sent home during the pandemic, and it was like, okay, you're working from home. And I think a lot of people had this sort of self-reflection. Like, what is important to me? What have I done? Where am I at today? What do I want the next year, 5 years, 10 years? What do I want that to look like? And I think that this pandemic has caused a lot of that. Like, what truly is important? And through that, too, I think come out these themes of identity. And that's why I wanted to bring Perk in here. He is an unemployed TV broadcaster, but incredibly talented storyteller at KARE 11 for 25 years. Hey, Perk, how are you?
Unemployed and actively seeking employment. What's going on, Corey? Always good to talk to you. It's great to connect again. You know what? First of all, that cut ties and split joke. It was funny because that actually went over some people's heads. They're like, "Why did you cut your tie in half?" I was like, "Never mind, you missed it." It was a great night. It was overwhelming, and it was just a phenomenal tribute that they did, and Rena Sargentopoulos in particular, who spearheaded that whole thing. And it was just such a touching night and emotional too, because it has been such a good run, and it has been such a decent legacy that I've left there, and I feel really fulfilled and proud and complete there. And I think that helped me make this decision. The fact that I didn't have anything on the table that I still wanted to do. And yeah, absolutely, the time at home gave me some time for some deep perspective, and as I know it did a lot of people. And whether you call it a midlife crisis, crisis. It might be a crisis for the workforce that's dealing with all this, but for me, this is a joyous. There's no crisis at all for me. This is just it's time to make a transition, but yes, without question, the time at home spurred this on.
Yeah. Just to know, I'm not saying you had a crisis. I think just in general, that was kind of our theme for today. We're talking a lot of different angles on that. But it was so great to see all the love, though, Perk, man, because it's been great to see all the love that you've gotten. I was rewatching your Brock Lesnar piece that you did, and the Doug Minkiewicz one, which I have seen before, even before I was ever at KARE 11. So it's been fun to see those passed around again, which I think are just phenomenal.
It has been kind of a wild, nostalgic trip here for me, and I knew a lot of these would surface, but it was just kind of reminded me oh, wow, I did all these things. This is such a fantastic, and then you add, 5 Olympics and all the times we covered our teams on the road, and it was just there was just so many stories to tell and so many great people, and being out in these communities whether it was Detroit Lake or Zumbrota. I mean, it didn't matter. It was just kind of like there's so many memories out there in canvassing this great state, and just so many great sports stories too, and people. As you know, sports is kind of that great equalizer where everybody's opinion matters as much as anybody else's, and it's just I love it. It was such a fun playground, and I was honored to have been able to be a part of it for as long as I did. But it was time to move on. It just was.
Yeah.
And whether it was I was burnt out or what, but it was more. I more felt like there was nothing else I wanted to do in this job. And if anything, it was getting to be like a giant hamster wheel. And if I'm not 100% all in on something and passionate and feel like I'm changing it or doing something like really important with it, I don't know what the point is. And so
yeah.
I had hit a point of stagnation that I wasn't able to get through, and frankly, realizing how much time at home I was actually missing when I got the chance to spend a year at home broadcasting here was completely eye-opening. I mean, I knew I was missing a lot of my kids' lives with the 2 to midnight schedule or whatever it is, but I didn't realize. It just hit home. It resonated a lot more when I actually was here and present all the time.
So, Perk, here's something I've thought a lot about, and I wonder if you have too. Like how your identity gets wrapped up in your job, because I know you, and I know that ever since you were little, you wanted to do one thing, and you were blessed you were able to do it, right? I mean, your dad was an icon in TV broadcasting. You the same thing here, and I just wonder because I was there too, where I only wanted to do one thing, and then that was to be a TV broadcaster in the Twin Cities, right? And thankfully I was able to do that. But I struggled with this for a long time, where it was like my job and occupation was my only identity. And I guess, so, I don't know if you felt that, but then what happens when a person only thinks about doing that one thing their entire life? Like, where your identity gets wrapped up into who you are, because you're so much more than what you did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And yes, it was everything I wanted to do. And not a lot of people get that. Not a lot of people know early on. They get out of college, they're still trying to figure it out and all that stuff. And thank God, I just consider myself so blessed to have found something that I really was passionate about and was all in on and was able to kind of pursue and go to great lengths with. But yeah, I totally know what you mean about having your identity wrapped up, especially when your identity, is almost a caricature of itself. And then you kind of like it's weird because when you feel like you've done everything you can, and the hours are just a grind and a strain, and let's face it, not just 2 to midnight or whatever it is, because I'll get a text at 9:30 in the morning, hey, so and so signed an extension. Did you see this? Yeah, I did. I better start tweeting about it. I better start, putting it out on social. And so it seeps into much more of your day part than just your actual schedule. It is almost an entire day job. And so that I think just over time, it just sucks you and it strains you. And while you have a passion about it, and you have had a passion about it, and it is so much of your identity, at some point you just have to reevaluate.
Mm-hmm. So I got to the point too where it was like, you take pride in what you do, right? I mean, like you set out to do something and you work hard and look, like for me, I made so many sacrifices. I moved, to Fargo and Montana and upstate New York a couple different times, to Texas a couple different times. I was laid off a couple different times. I made it to Minneapolis and so there were a lot of sacrifices. A lot of Christmases missed, a lot of 4th of July's missed, a lot of Thanksgivings missed, all of those things. And it was kind of like when I got to care, and even though it was a much shorter time than you, it was 4 years, I was kind of like, okay, I feel good. I feel good, and I'm thankful for what the opportunity that I had, and I'm ready for something else. But for so long, I had that pride of like, as Corey, he's in broadcasting, right? Because it was all I wanted to do. And then it was kind of like I got to a point. It sounds like kind of similar to you, where it was like, you know what? I don't need to be identified by that. Like, I need to be identified by, like, hey, he's a good guy. Like, he treats everybody right. And he does, what does he do for a job? Oh, I'm not really sure. Like, I got to a point where I was comfortable with that. But it took some time and maybe some maturity or whatever. But I guess identity, and I hear athletes talk about this all the time, too, where they just – you get these expectations that are put on you from other people, and you're like, well, I'm more than that. And so it could be a lot to handle. And this isn't just for this industry. It's for everybody who is in any sort of work, that it's like, it's not the only thing that you are, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's like when people ask Will Ferrell to be funny. Do something funny, or whatever it is. And I'm not even putting myself even near his echelon. But like, I think that like, there is so much of an unattached identity to all this. But, I think that, and I'm not snubbing my nose at that. I realize that that's a phenomenal gift to have, to be so recognized and to be so, widely accepted in some cases. And I don't take that for granted, right? But over time, I just think that I want to see what else is out there, And it's not that I just want to abandon that and that persona that I've developed. I mean, I if anything, I think that I've built up a pretty doggone good community brand and network, and I want to kind of use that in some other facet, in some other sector, in some other way, and in a positive direction also. And I just think that I just want to see what else is out there, doggone it, before I'm too old. And that's kind of where I'm at.
It's awesome. I mean, in what you talk about is purpose, right? And I think on the show we talk about that all the time, is when you work with a purpose and you live with the purpose, good things come your way. And I know they will for you too, Perk, and just know I'm here to help you. And I want to thank you too. You were always so incredibly supportive of me when I came in, and helpful, and what else, and we always were able to connect on so many different things. So just thank you and I know a number of people have been able to share this with you and how much you've meant to them, but me too. Thank you for all that you've done, Perk.
Oh, God bless you, and your wife too. My gosh, you guys were a joy to work with in the times that you were there, and it was always fun lamenting about the Vikings with you and everything. Oh man, don't get me. But absolutely, you're a class act, and you're kicking butt over there, man. Just keep up the great work. You're doing some good stuff over there, man.
Thanks, Perk. Yeah, and Camille's okay. I mean, I was really the joy, but yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Corey.
Yeah, thanks, Perk. All right, see ya. Eric Perkins there, talented storyteller at KARE 11 for 25 years. I don't know that I think I was talking over him, but you heard it, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think he was about to say some things about all the team that supports you, myself included, but that's fine. Talk over it. That's cool. We're not upset.
The COVID-19 pandemic showed us how a microscopic virus could upend our lives. There is so much out there that we need to understand, but for every threat, there are heroes working at the edges of science and policy to protect us. I'm Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, former Detroit Health Director and host of Crooked Media's America Dissected. Every episode, I talk to the doctors, scientists, culture makers, and policy leaders who are working out new ways to protect us against our biggest threats. New episodes of America Dissected every Tuesday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On Pod Save the World, we want to be your cheat sheet for global events. My name is Tommy Vitor, and each week, my co-host Ben Rhodes and I break down the biggest stories from around the world. Ben and I both worked on President Obama's national security staff, and we'll introduce you to the activists, politicians, and journalists who can help us understand what's going on around the world, what it means for the United States, and what it's like being inside the White House Situation Room during a crisis. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods.
Odyssey now has hundreds of new exclusive music stations for you to discover your new summer soundtrack.
Get moving with worthy workouts for a cardio sesh fueled by today's top artists.
Hanging with your crew? Throw it back with Picnic Party for old school jams for your cookout.
Or sail away with Odyssey's new yacht rock station, Jugger Yacht.
For summer barbecues, road trips,
or relaxing poolside.
Hundreds of new exclusive stations, plus all your favorite local radio stations and podcasts. It's all on Odyssey.
Brought to you by Macy's, Geico, and Coke Zero Sugar.